This is your End Time News Prophecy Update, where end time prophecy and current events come together. I'm your host, W. Dean Shook. We have a very special prophecy update for you today. We're going to cover abortion. As most of you know, who listen to me all the time, abortion is something that's very near and dear to my heart. With 1.4 million abortions in America every single year, this is truly an American genocide. We're going to start with the headlines, and I'm going to give you the full story of each one. We'll start with the birth control mandate is unlawful, a federal court rules. It says the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, has a birth control mandate that tramples the rights of free exercise. That's the free exercise of religion for an individual in the U.S. The court did not rule, as other courts have in similar cases, that for nonprofit companies are protected by the free exercise clause. The decision's inconsistency with other court decisions on the birth control mandate increases the likelihood that the Supreme Court will have to weigh in on this debate. We must determine whether the contraceptive mandate imposed by the Affordable Care Act tramples the rights of free exercise, a right that lies at the core of our constitutional liberties. As protected by the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, we conclude it does, according to Judge Janice Rogers Brown, who wrote for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. The plaintiffs in the case are Francis and Philip Ghilardi, owners of Freshway Foods in Ohio. The Ghilardis are devout Catholics who objected to being required to include coverage for contraception, sterilization, abortion drugs in their company's health care plan. The burden of religious exercise does not occur at the point of contraceptive purchase. Instead, it occurs when a company's owners fill the basket of goods and services that constitute a health care plan. In other words, the Ghilardis are burdened when they're pressured to choose between violating their religious beliefs in managing the selected plan, paying erroneous penalties. Now, cited figures such as John Locke, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, as well as the congressional record related to passages of the First Amendment, Brown noted the freedom of conscience is implied in the free exercise clause. The framers of the Constitution clearly embraced the psychological and philosophical insight that the government corrosion of moral agency is odious, she wrote. Penalties are impertinent, according to Locke, if they're used to compel men to quit the light of their own reason and oppose the dictates of their own consciousness. Then the American Center of Law and Justice, which represents the Ghilardis, viewed the decision as a partial victory. Senior counsel Frank Mannion explained that the Christian Post on a Friday interview, because the court found the birth control mandate violates an individual religious freedom, but would not say that it violates a religious freedom for businesses. For this reason, the ACLU will petition the Supreme Court to review the case. The decision left unclear, Mannion explained, whether the government could fine the company for not providing birth control coverage. In a similar case, involving the Christian-owned company Hobby Lobby, the court found the opposite. The corporation enjoys religious freedom protections, but religious freedom protections for the individual do not apply in this case, said the Department of Justice, and Hobby Lobby have both asked the U.S. Supreme Court to review the case. I think it's about time that abortion comes back up before the Supreme Court. I think they have a good argument here. Because Obamacare also has a threat to marriage and American civil society. This is from thefoundry.com. And here's this story. In addition to a tsunami of glitches in the online enrollment, Obamacare is designed with a payment structure that undercuts marriage and the family. Two institutions that have historically provided the foundation for a sustainable and thriving civil society. The law is structured to provide less support to a husband and wife than it would the same couple if they were cohabitating. So in essence, it will tax married couples to fund the benefits it provides the couples who cohabitate, or if they divorce or never marry. The impact of this discrimination will affect couples at every income level. It creates a scenario in which couples' wisest financial decision would be to divorce or forego altogether getting married. America has already seen a 50% decline in the marriage rate since the 1970s and a tenfold increase in cohabitation. If Obamacare exacerbates this decline, many more Americans could miss out on the positive effects that marriage has for both men and women. Children, in particular, will suffer amidst continued family disillusion, poverty, physical and emotional health, and they will suffer in the likeliness of success. Without the benefit of an intact family, children are 82% more likely to live in poverty. They tend to fare worse on a wide range of economic measures. In their teens, they're more likely to engage in high-risk behavior such as sexual activity, substance abuse, antisocial behavior. They also tend to fare worse on emotional and psychological outcomes and have a lower academic achievement level. The backup plan to tying the knot, cohabitation, will not offer protection from the impact of this cultural disintegration. Researchers from the National Marriage Project and the Institute of American Values reveals that compared with peers who live with both biological parents intact and children who live in a cohabitating household are more likely to suffer from a range of emotional, social, and behavioral problems, and they're less likely to succeed academically. Now, according to government data, they're also at least 3 times more likely to be abused physically, sexually, or emotionally. In fact, regarding significant measures of well-being, children in cohabitating households fare worse than counterparts in single-parent families. And in addition, cohabitating couples are more likely to separate than married parents. Children born to cohabitating couples are 170% more likely to experience a parental breakup than children who live with married couples. This family instability really carries dire consequences for children. It's linked to poor relationships with parents, behavioral health problems, and school failure. I think this is something that we should all be concerned about. And here's another one from Belgium concerning kids. And this is straight from CBS News. This is one of the times when the alphabet networks actually told us something worth hearing. Belgium is considering the world's first child euthanasia law. They say, should children have the right to ask for their own deaths? In Belgium, where euthanasia is now legal for people over the age of 18, the government is considering extending it to children, something that no other country has done. The same bill would offer the right to die to adults with early dementia. Now, advocates argue that euthanasia for children, with the consent of their parents, is necessary to give families an option in a desperately painful situation. But opponents have questioned whether children can reasonably decide to end their own lives. Belgium is already a euthanasia pioneer. It legalized the practice for adults in 2002. In the last decade, the number of reported cases has risen from 235 in 2003 to 1,432 in 2012. 2012 is the last year that they took statistics. They're no longer doing that. Doctors typically give parents a powerful sedative before injecting another drug to stop their heart. Only a few countries have legalized euthanasia or anything even approaching it. In the Netherlands, euthanasia is legal under specific circumstances and for children over the age of 12 with parental consent. There's an understanding that infants too can be euthanized and that doctors will not be prosecuted if they act appropriately. Well, elsewhere in Europe, euthanasia is only legal in Luxembourg. Assisted suicide, where doctors help a patient to die but not actively kill them, is allowed in Switzerland. A man with locked-in syndrome, Tony Nicholson, dies at home after a week after losing a euthanasia court case. Vermont, about to become the fourth state with aid in dying law. In the U.S., the state of Oregon also grants assisted suicide requests for residents 18 and over with a terminal illness. In Belgium, the ruling Socialist Party has proposed the bill expanding the right of euthanasia. The Christian Democratic Flemish Party vowed to oppose the legislation and to challenge it in the European Court of Human Rights if it passes. A final decision must be approved by Parliament, which could take months. Well, let's have a positive note. You know, when it comes to abortion, the advocates of abortion have what I call magic thinking. You know, when they treat gambling addiction, they use this term magic thinking. It's where someone thinks that if they just try hard enough or think hard enough or do something that they could change the outcome of their gambling, that they can win if they just do something hard enough. Well, when it comes to abortion, the advocates, they seem to have this same magic thinking. They seem to think that if they say that this is a woman's health issue, if they say it enough, if they say it loud enough, if they repeat it enough, that somehow it will become true. The bottom line still stays the same no matter what kind of magic thinking they use. It's still the death of an innocent child, an unborn innocent child who can't speak for themselves. So when it comes to abortion, they say it's for the best interests of both the mother and the child. Well, let me share a story with you. I want to share this story of a student whose raped mother refused abortion, and this child wins the title of homecoming queen. Auburn, Alabama, a young woman whose mother, who chose adoption over abortion after being sexually assaulted, has won the title of homecoming queen at her university. Now 22 years old, Marianne Dutton, congratulations Marianne, has garnered the 100th Miss Homecoming Queen title at Auburn University on a platform dedicated to adoption advocacy. Now, Dutton's biological mother made the decision to have her baby adopted instead of terminating her pregnancy after her husband gave her the ultimatum of abortion or divorce. Well, Dutton's campaign was centered on her own remarkable story, a message of hope to women in any similar situation to their own birth mother. Because the resource was available to my mother, she said, she decided to give birth to me, Dutton said in a campaign video. And now I'm here talking to you guys 22 years later. Dutton was adopted through the Christian adoption agency Lifeline Children's Services in Birmingham, Alabama. That's Lifeline Children's Services in Birmingham, Alabama. So don't say these places don't exist. During her campaign, which had the slogan, Light Up Life, Dutton raised money for the agency. She says that her goal is to let women know that there's help for women in crisis situation. I just want to show women that if you ever find yourself in this situation, there are resources out there. She stated, Dutton also says she feels honored to tell her story. I was given grace to carry this story. She said, my voice is a voice for the voiceless. My voice is a voice for the voiceless. God bless her. Let's stop this American genocide. You'll find these stories and more at our website. That's wdeanshook.com. That's wdeanshook.com.